Okay guys, so now looking at real life chart examples. This is the 15 minute, some recent price action. As you can see, we've been very sideways, range bound, and we've had a major break of a low, a major break of a high, minor breaks of highs and lows, and just all signs that price is going to be quite rangy at the moment. And in those cases, it's pretty safe to take both sells from extremes and buys from extremes as well. So as you can see, price has come up here. Now, would it still be valid to look for sells here? And if we look at order flow, we can see we've had a break here, a mitigation clearly of the extreme, or not the extreme, the premium of this leg, so we don't really need to check that. Then we've had another break to the downside right here, and price has then come up, mitigated, and then broken down again. Now, it's not so clear that this has mitigated the premium of this leg, so we will check that out with our premium and discount tool. Okay, what we can see is that it has just tapped into the premium of this leg. So first of all, it seems okay, but what we also need to check is, did it tap into a valid 15-minute supply zone? And we can see that it's just missed this zone over here, which means, so didn't tap into it, just tapped into the sum imbalance over here, and then continue to break structure. So this high was always likely to get taken in future if price came back to it. And you can see that's what's happened, leaving this premium, the zones in this premium still open for potential sells. So be it this zone with the inducement below, or it could be this wick, or even the extreme zones. As you can see, price has just rocketed up and come to the extreme up here. So if we put a zone on here, this is what we've tapped into. And then after we put that on there, we kind of want to see, right, is there a valid zone on the 1 minute that we've tapped into? So looking at this, wait for it to load. Okay, so can we refine this down to a clear zone? Well, looking at this, it's not the clearest bit of price action. If we take this leg, like, are we mitigated to the premium? And I mean, it's just tapped the EQ, but potentially this could be an unmitigated premium, because it's only just tapped the EQ there. So it has something going for it. And an extreme is always good regardless, especially if it's within a 15-minute zone. So yeah, some potential to take a trade there if we get a reaction. As you can see, price has tapped into that 1 minute extreme in the 15-minute extreme. So what we'd wait now, if we were going to take a sniper entry, we would wait for a 1 minute change of character, and that would be if this low broke. And as you can see, we just quite clearly got our 1 minute change of character right here. Okay, so now, again, if we were looking at sniper entries, we'd be looking at this leg here, and saying, does price come back into a valid zone in this leg? Now, if we are looking at this zone, we can see there's some interaction here, potentially a flip zone right here. But when you see that on the 1 minute, when it looks all small like this, a couple of wicks, it is also an option to go down to, say, the 30 seconds to see if that is a more visible zone. As you can see, we had this 30-second quite a clear flip. You can see it's interacted with this demand zone, reacted, and then broken down. That's what caused the change of character on the 1 minute. So it's always okay to refine down on 30 seconds if it makes sense. So in this case, we would look for entries like this. Excuse me. So waiting for price to tap into this zone. And we do get a tap in. It's a valid flip zone right there. So what we would do now is look on the 5 seconds and see if we get a breaker structure on the 5 seconds. You see on the left here, if we break down 5-second entries as well, we have tapped into something valid on the 5 seconds with this little supply zone. And looking very carefully at the 5 seconds as well, you can see we've created a valid high, low, high. So if this low goes, it's valid to get involved in an entry there. So playing price forward. And there we go, that low has broken. So we can put our 1 minute entry on there and see if we get tagged in. And price comes and taps us in just there. And then we see, do we get risk free? And we get risk free at the 4R there. And yeah, great. So if we're looking at sniper entries, that's a perfectly valid entry to take. But what if we didn't get involved in that? What if we missed that? We didn't think of the 30 seconds, or price was too quick on the 5 seconds, or there just hadn't been a clean entry? Well, there's a number of things you can do. Obviously, what's the real breaker structure here would be, this would be our last major low on the 1 minute. So that would be a break of structure, but when you can see that's quite a distance here. So what we can do, as you'll have seen in the substructure video, but that which was mainly focused on the higher time frames, but it's okay to look at this on the 1 minute as well. We can look at substructural order flow in order to take continuations down. So as you can see, this would have been the chock area, and then we break that low. So then we're looking at sort of how price moves in this sort of substructure that comes. So we're waiting for a close below this low, and then we'll look at the order flow. If it's clean, we'll get involved in entries. Okay, so waiting for a close below this low right here, which we just got, and that means we can look at this leg of price for an entry. Now, if we look at this leg, we can kind of see, like, is there a clear area that we'd want to get involved in? It's all a little bit messy. You can see we originally broke the low here, and then this zone was created. So it could want to go up higher. But yeah, you may overall want to wait for a 1 minute change of character when it's a bit messy like this, or you can go on the 30 seconds and see, was there a clear zone on the 30 seconds? Ish, but not really. So really, I'd kind of want to wait for a 1 minute change of character or something from the extreme if we were to carry on. As you can see, we've extended the leg down like this, and price has come back into the premium. Do we get a 1 minute change of character here? Price continues up, heads up to the extreme. So as we're at the extreme now, we could look at 5 second entries, as there's nowhere else that price is going to go from. So there's just going to be one potential loss that we would take here. So if we look at this, I'm currently looking for a break of this low on the 5 seconds. Now we've broken above this high, we're looking for a break of this low. And we get that break here, so we can actually, if we weren't in this, we could look at another entry right here. All right. Price comes up. Okay. It may have just missed us there. Very close. If you had a slightly larger stop loss, you could have got involved in a 1.1 pip. I'm very greedy, so probably would have missed me with a 1 pip. But yeah, that was another potential entry you could have gotten involved with there. But again, you may have missed that. So what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for another close below this low, which we get here. And then what is valid at this point? Well, what we can see is that we've got this leg. If we look to the left, what we've also got is these zones that are in the unmitigated discount of this leg. So it would be wise to stay out of shorts from here, because price could just continue up from here. As you can see, price eventually just continued down. Okay, so you know, there may have been an entry in here, but it wasn't so safe to look at that point. And then price continues just to break down from there. Now we've had our break of structure, so that means that overall this was our 1 minute actual major leg, and our last unmitigated substructural leg was this one. Now if we look at that, we can see that both in this major 1 minute leg, bearish leg, and this last substructural leg, they have two zones in common, which is this zone right here. And when you can get like a crossover between two zones like this and see that they have this zone in common, everything else behind it has been mitigated substructurally to their respective premiums. This is now looking like a really nice zone to take a short from. So what we would do, well, we see here again, what did we get? Well, this was our substructural leg. We can see here no mitigation of the premium. There was a zone here, but you can see price did not tap into the premium of this last substructural leg. So we would not have taken any entry there, and we now wouldn't be looking at this leg for an entry, a continuation, but this would still be open for business. As price continues on, and this would have been the last leg, but again, we're not looking at this, so this could save you some losses. You know, it could still go from here, but for us, we now have reason for price to break this, see this as inducement, and for price to come up into this zone that was left unmitigated. So you see how the story is built here. We have a zone that's in the premium of the overall leg. We have a zone that's in the premium and the extreme of the last substructural leg that was not mitigated. We have inducement here from this high that did not mitigate the premium. Okay, and we have a further breakdown. There's going to be people wanting to take continuations just from this high here, thinking price is just going to continue down like this without taking into account all this order flow business and unmitigated premiums. So those people are going to get swept, and price is going to come in to here and potentially continue on down. As you can see, that's exactly what happened. Price came up, tapped into this zone, and now it continues down. So what we got here from that zone, was there a 5-second entry? Not really. We broke the high and pushed, so we swept, pushed down. No real mitigation of this, so you wouldn't have been tagged into a sell. But what we got after that was a 1 minute change of character. So as you can see, that's our change of character. So can we now get a 5 seconds from the change of character zone? So if we look on the 1 minute, this was the supply. Then we go on the 5 seconds, price tapped into it. Again, no solid entry from that. Did price come back to take us in? No, unfortunately not. But what you can see is this order flow concept in play, and what's important to take from it is what areas are we looking at to take entries from and what areas are we not. And it's fairly simple. You're just following the mitigations, following the order flow, and then it becomes easy. You know where you're looking. So yeah, the price continues down, does what it does. So if one of these areas were to break, say as we've noted, all this previous area of price was mitigated. This was the last area. If this was to break, would I still be looking at these zones up here? For me, they're not particularly high probability areas to look for trades from. But what you can do is look on a higher time frame, and if say we have a 15-minute change of character, which we got at this point here, and this is all one leg, you could take that into account and see, right, okay, what zones are in the premium of this? Can I refine them down to 1 minute zones? And if so, would they be valid? Have we mitigated something down here that's valid, so we'd now expect price to go through them? There's all kinds of questions you've got to take into account when taking these continuations. So ultimately, what happened was price did come down all the way to this level, before eventually continuing to the upside. But that's one example of these continuations. Now we'll go to another recent example. Right, so another example of continuation entries. This one we're going to start with the 4-hour time frame. And looking at this, we've obviously had this very long major 4-hour leg down. And within this 4-hour major leg, obviously, first of all, broke down here, cemented a low, did not mitigate the premium. Broke down here, cemented another low, did not mitigate the premium. Broke down again, cemented a low, now we're coming up. So overall, this could be seen as one major 4-hour leg. But also we have these minor legs within it. So the last minor leg in this range comes from this high, as we cemented a low here, all the way down to this low. And we're looking at this. And now, minor structure on the higher time frames, such as the 4-hour, we can still look at 4 reactions. As I've said before, small reactions on the 4-hour are much bigger reactions on the 1 minute, etc. So we can still get trades from 4-hour. Sometimes even 15-minute minor structure will give you enough for a trade. But you know, you still want those confirmations from the areas. So looking at this, price has tapped into this extreme zone of this 4-hour minor leg. Looking at that, and what we want to know is have we tapped into a refined zone? So that's the first thing we want to check out. Now looking over here, the refined zone on the 15-minute would be all the way sort of up here, be these two wicks, or even this candle up here, something along this more extreme side of the area. And as you can see, price hasn't tapped into that. Okay, so going back to the 4 hour, we take that whole zone into consideration. What we really want is a little bit more confirmation from here rather than just a 1 minute chalk, because we don't have that refined area. It's just a 4 hour zone. So really, for me, what I'd want is a 15-minute change of character before getting involved in shorts. So that is what I would wait for. Now, if we look at price from here, we can see, going back to the 15-minute, that a chalk on the 15-minute would at this point be all the way, this would be, this inside bar would be our chalk low. Okay, that's where we'd be looking at in order to get involved for price to break. Okay, so if price comes down, and now this is coming towards our Frankfurt opening time, and we suddenly get a sweep below that low, we got to change of character. Price is traded below this valid low that formed. Okay, so now what we want to do is we can first of all look at this as a leg, and look at the premium of that. But also what we want to do is check out the order flow on the lower time frames, to see if there is sort of one last unmitigated area that we'd look to take trades from. So if we check this out, let's see what happens. So we got our initial mitigation up here, okay, and then where's the 1 minute change of character? The 1 minute change of character occurred here. You can see it's also a flip, so here's our first change of character leg. Price comes down, taps into here, reacts, and then continues to break down. Does this flip zone ever get mitigated? No. Okay, so let's see. Does price come back up into this premium? No. But what does happen? Okay, so price comes down, comes up, doesn't mitigate the premium, sweeps that low, doesn't close below it, comes up again, sweeps that high, okay, and breaks that low again, and this is all very messy price action. Okay, so if we look at this, we've got a breakdown, a small reaction move up, a sweep of that low, a break of that high, another break of that low, another reaction up, and then another break again. Then what happens? All of this messy price action gets swept over here. Now this is, looking at this, because it's so hard to make sense of, that's not price action that I'd want to get involved in when it's like this. There's no point sitting there trying to decode it and think, oh, how do I get in this? You just don't. You just leave it alone. At this point, I'd be still waiting for this flip zone. Okay, but now we've had a sweep of this, and price breaks down again. We've now got more of a re-establishment of order flow. So we have this leg right here. Okay. So now what would I be doing? Well, I'd be looking at zones in this premium to take a trade from. And do we get that? Well, what happens is we have a small pullback again, creating sort of minor structure, and a breakdown, so we haven't mitigated the premium. And then we get a break of the high, and then we get a break of the low. So again, this is too messy for me to want to get involved with. Like, this isn't nice order flow, nice clean price action to get involved in shorts with. So for me, I'm staying out until we see clean order flow again. Okay, so we've got to break the low, break the high, break the low, break the high. Am I looking now? Now again, we got a break of the low here, and ultimately this is where we got our 15-minute change of character. Now, because we've had our 15-minute change of character, does this mean I want to look for shorts from here because it's caused a 15-minute change of character? Well, no, because looking at this area, for me, it's not clean enough to take a trade from, because we've had these high breaks, low breaks, high breaks, low breaks. It's not making sense, and then we've still got these unmitigated areas, so we haven't established order flow, and we've still got unmitigated areas. So for me, it's not safe. So we still go ahead and we wait for some order flow. And that's what we got. Okay, so this was the last substructural leg. Price came up, mitigated a valid zone in the premium. And yes, would have gotten a nice entry there, but for me it just wasn't a clear area to get involved in yet. We weren't sure that this was going to get taken and we'd come into these areas, this flip area over here, who knows. But now what we've got is some clean order flow. So now this leg for me is one that I would look to get involved in shorts from. So you can look at this zone for starters and see what happens. So now the leg's been extended. Okay. Okay, and now there's actually some more this flip zone before the break here. Part of it is in the premium, so we can look at that as well. This overall leg. And now what happened? Well, price broke down without mitigating the premium. Okay, so that means that what we've got is a minor high. This neither mitigated the premium nor did it mitigate a zone. It was always going to be inducement that was most likely going to get swept. So we play price forward, and what happens? Price comes into this, has a small reaction, and then breaks above it, as we suspected it would. The zones above are still valid for shorts, so we wait. Price taps into it. Safest thing to do here is wait for a 1 minute change of character, which we get here. Okay, so price breaks below here, and then obvious zone would be this one, some kind of flip there, and we wait for a 5 second in there. Price taps in, we go down to the 5 second to see what we get. Waiting for a break of this low now. We get a break of that low. Put our entry on. 1 pip. Price tags us in just. Tags us in a bit deeper. Drops down risk free. Okay. So there again, order flow in place. And price does what it does, you know, goes down, take 17R, whatever you want, really quick. And yeah, it's just another example of how you can get involved in price when the order flow is clean, and wait for that re-establishment. Like, obviously this would have worked out, but for me it wasn't clear enough that it would, so I'd rather wait for that re-establishment of order flow and then get in where price is safe. That's all continuations come down to, really. Very simple in a way, as long as you've got the tools to read price action, and know when it's safe, when it's not safe, and clear to get involved. So yeah, hope that was helpful, guys. Any questions, as usual, pop them to me, pop them in the chat, wherever you want. Yeah, let's go.